Hey everybody, sorry, we are just getting started. This is live, so things can get a little bit crazy. In fact, that hand was just creeping out behind my head. It's like gonna grab me with a cucumber I was just eating. So a little bit crazy. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm gonna pinch my head. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. All right, June Tree, how's it going? I hope everyone's having a beautiful day. We're gonna go get started today with some hand drawing. We are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. Trying this again. In fact, I'm gonna make myself a little bit larger up here as we get started. And then I'm gonna get rid of the text. I have to kind of look over my camera here. So this camera is looking over my sketch pad right here so I can record everything I'm doing as we do these little sessions. I'm gonna get rid of my timer. And that. All right. So yeah, as we said, today we're gonna be drawing hands. We're gonna draw some hands, go over some of the fundamentals of hands. So last week, a couple days ago, we did our first ever drawing live stream. And we drew faces, and it was a lot of fun. So during that live stream, we decided, hey, for any of the community that's following along, post your... Sorry, I'm going to cough here for just a second. So what we said was that for any of our community following along, post your images over on Discord, and we'll show them the next day over here on live on the stream. So that goes along today. Today we're going to be drawing hands. At the end of this, I'm going to kind of treat it as an assignment. So we'll give a little bit of assignment for drawing hands. We'll do an exercise to kick us off, to get us started. And then after that, post your images up on the Discord. I'll share the Discord in the chat, as well as the description of this video, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. And we'll share it on the next video to kind of show what other people created. So we did get one from, and I'm going to show it off here. I believe this is it. Yeah, so these are the faces drawn by one of our viewers, June Tree. Very nice job. So in that video last week, we drew front faces and side faces. Kind of went over some techniques. If you want to check that out, look at some of my previous videos. You can see that. Yeah, in the chat, June Tree's in the chat right now. He says, "Woohoo, that's me." That is you, my friend. That's all you. Okay, we're gonna hide that. And then, of course, my son wanted me to show off some of his drawings. We did some circle exercises at the beginning of class, and then these beautiful front view faces that my son created. I think these are wonderful and fantastic. They look like some of the awesome pictures I drew when I was that age. And of course, the front view there, an amazing side view. It looks like me. I think he was drawing a picture of me. And another side view. He went all out and did some extras. So good job, Widmore. And that's it. We're going to get into hands today. And I could not be more excited. So for anybody watching, any of our viewers, mention in the chat, how do you like to draw hands? Do you like to draw hands? Do you get worried about drawing hands? Hands is one of those complex things that either artists don't like to draw or they love to draw. So a lot of times artists will draw their characters with hands in their pockets, or even some of the masters. If you ever look at some of the fine art from the Renaissance periods and other ones, you'll notice the artists will often hide in the hands of their drawings because they tend to look awkward. So we're going to go over some simple techniques today for drawing hands. But before that, what I like to do in every one of these episodes is start with a drawing exercise. So last week we did the circle exercise, and today we're just going to start by drawing a few shapes. And these are called primitive shapes. And so for those that you don't know, my name is Gabriel. I'm known as the Checkpoint Professor. I'm also a professor of game design at the University of Utah. And in the past life, I was an artist and a level designer for Disney for 10 years, working on a lot of Disney video games. And so I've worked a lot in 2D, which is drawing on paper and pen or computers, or 3D, which is using a 3D software like Maya or 3D Studio Max or Blender or things like that. But there's a lot of similarities between the two. And one of those is the primitive shapes. So whether you're drawing things on a piece of paper or modeling things out in 3D, most of the times you start out with very basic shapes. And they call them primitive shapes because it's kind of like, if you know the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, you can pretty much make any color out of those. And the same goes for shape and shake languages. So we're going to draw a few of those primitive shapes right now, and then we'll go in depth in future episodes. Ninja Gamer SMM2, thanks for hopping in today. So we're going to start by drawing some of those primitive shapes. So if anyone wants to guess what those primitive shapes are, feel free to blurt it out in the chat, and I'll draw it. I can also hear my kids in the other room yelling at me. So my kids are actually doing these assignments as we go. And so at the end of the stream, they'll also come out and show us what they've drawn. All right. Did someone say circle? I think I heard one of my kids yell circle. So we'll draw a circle. A circle is one of those primitive shapes. So we did a lot of circles last week. So we'll just draw out. I want everybody to draw on their paper. Draw out a circle. That is one of those primitive shapes. All right, Ninja Gamer. Just 1 second. There we go. Rain, how are you doing, my friend? I am my own mod, which you may be a mod soon. Triangle. I heard one of my kids yell triangle. All right, what else? Can anyone think of one? A square. I heard someone yell square. All right, we got triangle, circle, and square. And this may seem super simple. And the last one, I'll just say it, is a cylinder, which if you're looking at it from just a simple drawing like this, kind of looks like a rectangle. Right? So these are 2D primitive objects. We got circles, triangles, squares, and a rectangle. So we're going to turn these into somewhat 3D objects, and this is the assignment today. Is for the circle, that's a little bit difficult to turn into 3D. There's a couple things we could do. One, we could put some shadow on it. So really kind of you see those with a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to put an arrow here, kind of just showing where the light is coming on. So the light would kind of hit it right here, and then the shadow would come around the other side. So we're just going to shade in one side of that circle, and now it starts to look like a three-dimensional object. We'll put a little cast shadow underneath it. And we'll talk a little bit more about shading in future episodes, but this is your assignment. Add a little shadow to that. So a triangle, if we were to turn that into a 3D object, would actually become something called a cone or a pyramid. So to do that, we are just going to take the base of this and draw a little bit of an kind of a semicircle, a little moon circle on there. Kind of turns that into a 3D object too. And then we'll add a little bit of a shadow. Here we go. We still have the light coming from that same side. So we have the shadow on one side, and we could do the same thing, draw a little bit of a cast shadow off to the side of it. And now it's 3D. All right, my friends, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. So where were we? So we were on the square, and I understand here's the square. So we're going to turn this into a 3D object as well. With a box, it's actually really simple. So you're going to have to follow along. We're going to go over perspective drawings later on. This is going to be, I'm actually really excited about this art channel because we get to go over a lot of really fun art stuff and teach my kids as well in the other room, and then anyone who cares to listen. And from what some people have said in the chat, I know this may not be the kind of content you're used to if you're used to the Mario games and playing games, so this may seem a little bit boring to you. And that is okay if it's boring for you. I would highly suggest go find a channel where you're excited to see what they're doing. Because I'm excited about this, and there are a lot of people that I think are excited about art. So here we go. So we're going to draw this. So we drew this box. We're basically going to draw another one of the exact same box, and I'll just draw it a little bit lighter, right behind it and a little bit up, right there. So we kind of drew that same shape, just up diagonal just a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect these corners to the other corner. And we're going to skip this one right here because we're not supposed to be able to see that. So the same kind of thing. If the light, sorry, we're coming on this side, then this would be the brightest side. And then we can shade in these other panes just a little bit. And that kind of makes it a 3D object. We could even match some of the light to come off of it there. So that quickly becomes 3D. June Tree says, I'm very excited about art. I know there are those that are, and I know this is a little bit of a departure, but here we go. So now we're going to turn the cylinder into 3D, and I'm trying to keep this very simple and very easy. So just like with the triangle up top, we're going to draw that same kind of shape down here at the bottom. Then up here, just like we learned last time to draw circles that kind of bump up against each other, we're going to draw an oval, which kind of is a squashed circle. So you can see a squash circle down here will draw out kind of light, and then one up here, which would be the top of this object right here. So that is the top of the cylinder. A little bit messy, that's okay. And then of course we can shade in one side to make it dark. And then we have a simple cylinder. So these are the simple shapes. And these are some things to talk about when we're drawing hands today. So the big ones we're going to look at is the cylinder. We don't so much have the cones a whole lot in the hand. Maybe they are if you can find them. But definitely when we look at the fingers and the palm of the hand, there's a lot of square shapes, there's a lot of box shapes, and there's a lot of sphere or circle shapes in 3D that we're going to look at. So let's start doing that. And I think that is our first assignment. So everybody should have drawn this today. And then next, set that off to the side. Now we're going to start drawing some hands. And the easy way to draw hands is by finding reference. It's actually very difficult, at least for me, to draw hands just straight from memory. So a lot of times you want to find some reference for that. So there's a couple ways to do that. Actually, Google. On Google, there's a lot of images. If you just type in hand references or hand poses, it'll give you a whole bunch of hand poses. The other thing you can look at is your actual hands. If you put them right in front of your face or down below, you have some great references like that. Or maybe your friends or family has some hands that they can hold out for you, you can draw. Or what I did today, excuse me, is I actually just went and took some photos of my own hands that we could all use as references and to draw and talk about today. So we're going to actually use some reference images to draw hands today. And that is our plan. So let us open those up. Let's see if we can get them up there. So you can see right above my head, there's the first hand we're going to draw. My hand, you can see I chew my fingernails a little bit, much to the dismay of my spouse. She's never happy when I chew my fingernails, so I try not to. But we're going to start drawing using this as a reference, and we're going to talk about hands today. So when you draw these yourself, I'm probably going to use the whole sheet of paper. But for any of you drawing, if you want to just use a section of your paper, you can. So really quick, Ninja Gamer was asking why he was timed out. It was usually if someone hops into my chat and is telling me my content is boring, I will either time them out or ban them because I'm trying to keep things upbeat and positive. Like I said, if this is something you do not want to be viewing and you're not excited about it, I would highly recommend you either wait till one of the Mario streams or find someone who's playing or who's doing some content that you want to. But usually it's not considered really polite to hop into somebody's content or class and tell them it's boring and it's not very fun, etc. Some of that stuff you can just either not say or go somewhere else because it's distracting. And even right now, instead of teaching the class, I'm talking about that. So there we go. Okay, so let's draw some hands today, my friends. So we're going to look at some shapes of the hands and kind of look at what hands mean and how you draw them. I know for my daughter, she says she usually just draws circles for hands. So here we go. So we're going to start out. We're going to look at the general shape of the hands as we draw them out here. So we talked about drawing boxes. So if you look at the main section of the hand over here to the right, you can see that it kind of has that same box shape that we created earlier. So I'm just gonna start with that. We're gonna do this as simply as possible today. So we've got this box, and that's kind of the center of the hand, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. And let's just start up with some of those primitive shapes we just talked about. And then we'll draw another version of it. So we have the hand right here, and then we have another square, which is the wrist coming out of it, right? So if you notice the hand, there's a lot of circular shapes that come out of it. So we have, it's broken out into several different spots. So we're gonna break this out. We have the thumb and the fingers. And the fingers, if you think about them, they are just long rectangles as well. But that's not all they are. There's more to them than that. Because if we just drew them all right next to each other, we could do that and draw the base of it. And it kind of looks like a hand, but it's not super realistic, right? It's actually not too bad. And you could draw a thumb just pointing out of it. But if you notice, the hand kind of splays. It usually never is relaxed like that. It spreads out, just like the hand you're seeing up above. So we're gonna draw it like this. And if you look at the hand too, it kind of goes at some curves. The knuckles all curve around. The tips of the fingers are not the same length, so they kind of curve around too. So we're gonna draw some of those guiding lines here. So here we have where the knuckles are. And we're just gonna draw another curved line right above here. This is where the middle of the knuckles would be. And another draw a curved line about equally up above that, just to make this really easy. And we'll curve this, we can even curve that a little bit more, right in the middle. Okay, and now we can draw some guiding lines to show where our fingers are gonna go. So we'll draw one line coming right out of here, one line right up the middle, another line right here, and a pinky line right there. So we're kind of breaking that all out. Awesome. So this is super fun. So there are many different ways to do this. I've seen a lot of different methodologies, but now we can kind of scribble. It's okay to do a lot of scribbling, especially with this pen, and then I'm going to break out the Sharpie and make the lines a little bit darker later. But this is the first hand we're going to draw. So now let's draw the thumb. So you notice the thumb doesn't come straight out of the hand right here. There is actually a section of kind of meat right here. The thumb is actually, here's a joint right here. There's the center knuckle, and it wiggles. It goes on 90-degree angles. Then you have this section right here. And so when we talked earlier about boxes and triangles, there actually is a triangle that I didn't really notice. And really, it's this section right here. If we add a triangle kind of on its side right here, it kind of breaks out the hand a little bit more and forms that joint that we just pointed out. And now, just like with the fingers, we can draw that kind of guiding line that comes out there. And then we'll just draw two little rectangles to start out with. And we're going to do the same thing up here. We're going to draw some little rectangles up to that center mark. On each one of these, we'll go slow. So we'll start out with those rectangles. And then that is the center knuckle, and then every finger has another joint right here. Lots of joints. That's how we bend our fingers, is those joints. Right? So we're about halfway up each one of these. We're going to draw those joints as well. I'll put some markers right there. And we'll just draw another rectangle. And we're starting to draw that hand. It's all starting to come along, right? So if you look at the hand, it's actually a very complex, and there's a lot of bones in the hand. That's one of the reasons that hands get so difficult to draw, is because there are a lot of bones in the hand. There's actually several bones. There's a circle right here where the hand meets the wrist, where there are a lot of bones. I'm going to kind of draw in the bones. And then there's a bone that goes straight up to each one of these fingers. And the thumb, like underneath there. And you see the tendons kind of will move up on top of the knuckles. J. Rob Wu says phalanges. Excellent. Good job, my friend. So in essence, that is the hand in general. So now, as we watch, we're just gonna, now that we've kind of boxed out the hand, we've drawn the simple reference of it, we're gonna add some more details here, and then we can just draw right over it. So you notice this section of the hand, it's not straight like that triangle is. We can look at the reference now, and we can kind of Soften some of that out where the hand comes out up towards that pinky. And then of course every finger has a fingernail. We're just going to draw some simple circles up top. Like I say, circles, squares, and rectangles, and occasionally some triangles pretty much make up all of the hand. Here we're going to put another circle here for the knuckles. And you'll notice my hands look different than anyone else's hands, just like someone's face looks different than anyone else's face. There are a lot of general principles, but they all come into play. And even the thumb kind of turns sideways a little bit. Got kind of an edge here. You can see on my hand there, kind of comes out and goes in like that. All right, so now that we've kind of roughed this thing out entirely, I'm gonna go ahead and just take out my Sharpie and put in some of the details. Would love to take some extra time on this, but for the sake of the class, we're gonna move on, keep going as we were. Now we can draw out that hand. It's okay to be a little bit messy here. Partly, I usually wouldn't draw with like a Sharpie, but I'm doing it for the sake of the channel because my lines don't always come in as strongly as I would like them to. So super fun. So we have the wrist there. All right, so there's the first hand in our series. Pretty straightforward and simple. Let's go to the next one, where we're gonna look at the hand from the other side now. Here we go. So here's the same hand from the other side. Like I say, if you're not a part of the Discord, make sure you are. We're gonna add an art section to that. If someone wants to type command Discord in there. All right, so let's start the hand from the other side. Kind of the same idea here is we're gonna start, this is another exercise for everybody. We're gonna start with that same square, right? And then the wrist goes straight down. That's another rectangle. Here you can see that around that midpoint here, this is where that other triangle comes from this side. Draw out the triangle. This is that joint we were talking about where there's a lot of bones. That one then goes, those bones go straight up into the hand. We can draw some guiding lines for those. To the pinky and the other fingers. And then of course the thumb comes out right here, right? We got that guiding line here. Of that same distance, we're gonna draw another one here for the knuckles. And then another line up here for the rest of the fingers. Then we'll follow this line up here. The middle finger goes up a little bit higher and is a little bit straighter. And of course the pinky comes out about there. Pretty straightforward and fast way to draw hands from the front side. And then we can start drawing some more rectangles and some rounded rectangles. We're going to do the same thing up here. Rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. And then another rectangle with a joint. And the tips of the finger. And we'll make these a rectangle with a rounded top on them. Kind of a, really, if you think about it, it's a rectangle with a sphere on the end of it. Kind of makes that rounded point of the finger. Block out that hand really fast. And you see the bottom of the hand is a lot different. We have different meaty sections of it. They all have names as well. Got this meaty section. We could draw some circles to do that. And there we go. And the balls of the finger. I'm actually really excited to see the drawings that my kids come up. So we're just doing this really fast, and you can see here, you can then go in and make these wider to kind of match the reference images. I think the big goal with art is to take the fear out of it. No lines ever have to be perfect. If one is ever too narrow or too far apart, you can always adjust them and tweak them. That's kind of the fun thing I love about art, is you watch things start to be drawn and you think to yourself, man, that doesn't really look like what they're drawing. But then the more lines they put in, the more effort they start to add to it, the more it starts to turn into that thing. And there's this point where it's like just all kind of comes to life. And that's one of the beautiful, fun parts about art. All right, so there is the next hand. So let's try the next one. Here we go. This is a side view. We're gonna skip that one for a minute. Let's do a fist. The fist is a little bit different. You know, maybe in the future we'll do a hands part 2 on this. But I'm gonna ask the chat or my kids in the other room, what shape do you think this is showing us? What's the first shape you think of? A ball. So someone said kind of a ball. I think we could start with almost any shape we want. So let's do that. Let's start with a ball. Someone said a ball, which if we draw a perfect circle, kind of looks like that. And if we put a wrist out of it, there's my wrist. Does that look like a fist? What do you guys think? They say yes, that does look like a fist. I'm not convinced. But here's the beautiful thing about art. Once you start with a shape, you can start to think, how can we adjust this? How can we adjust this? So if we take this ball and we say, okay, this comes out a little bit too round here, we can actually just start putting some angles on it. So we put an angle over on that side, we put an angle over on this side, and then we say, well, it doesn't quite go all the way up around. It kind of cuts off right there. So we'll cut this off right here. This is where the thumb kind of goes. And we are just having fun with this drawing. This is actually, most of what you're seeing here is completely unrehearsed, which is the fun part of it. So we see now we're starting to get the general shape of that fist. So now we talked about the balls and the fingers. You can see we can break out that other shape of where the fingers kind of go. That pinky finger kind of comes in like this, has this round shape like this, and then the front finger comes out like that. And then the thumb's just kind of hanging out over on this side. And then another big mass right here is the meat of the thumb here. And the other padding of the hand kind of comes out there. So you see, just like that, now that we've kind of broken things out with larger shapes, it really makes life a lot easier. So now for these fingers here, you can draw a line for each one of them to kind of point in the direction that they go. And when fingers are naturally pointed out on the hand, you notice they kind of splay outward like that. Well, interesting enough, when you close your fist, they actually turn inward on there. So we can start drawing those out. And here we have that first finger, draw a circle, that middle finger, this finger, and the pinky is kind of sliding on in there. And then underneath one of those, you have a joint and that finger that's kind of hanging out underneath it. We'll just put some fingers on the inside of here, and the knuckles kind of hang out up top. So it starts to make that hand that we could continue to massage and have fun with and make feel exactly how we want it to. Or the thumb can even come up a little bit more, kind of dip like that. And then you notice these fingers, they kind of go underneath, so we can shade those in a little bit to kind of show that they are underneath the other section of the fingers. And really it just starts to make a hand right there. And so for everyone over on Facebook, anyone on YouTube today, thanks for hanging out with me today. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and add some ink to this as well. I know it has not been the perfect stream. We got a little bit sidetracked. Luckily, this will all be edited. There is a link there going to a new channel, which will actually be called the Checkpoint Classroom, which will be dedicated to these art streams, which we may be moving there sooner or later. We're kind of going with it. This is something I just started doing this week and testing out on stream. Had a lot of fun doing the head portraits. But yeah, let's add a little bit of ink to this to kind of fix some of this up, try and make it look like a fist. It's kind of like a Hulk fist a little bit. So I think doing studies like this are a lot of fun. And if anyone wants to know how to get good at drawing hands, the simple answer is draw a lot of hands. That pinky coming on in here. It has the fingernail underneath. We're just going to darken those up a little bit. And there we go. There's a really simple drawing of a hand. Just take us a couple seconds. All right, J. Rob Wu, June Tree, thank you so much for watching today. Hopefully you like this kind of content. If you do like this kind of content, and you do want to see this to continue, these types of classes, these hand drawings were actually a suggestion by somebody watching. It was actually June Tree, wanted to see a demo on hands. Hopefully you found this a little bit helpful. Really, we could definitely do multiple classes just on drawing hands, even just doing the gesture drawings like we were talking about, and just having a good time talking while we draw. So your support is much appreciated. You can support me by subscribing to the channel, by liking this content, by leaving a comment. Let me know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future. And so I'm just gonna ask to my Checkpoint kids, are you guys all ready to show your stuff? Okay, we'll have you over in just a second. Lavender Herb, how are you doing, my friends? They said, I really enjoy watching these and following along. It's really cool to compare styles and see how people do things differently. It really is awesome. And you know, every time I sit down to draw, I do things a little bit differently. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about art, is there are a million different ways to do really the same thing. And it really comes down to your style and preference. And that's art in general, is everybody creates their own magic. And it's a lot of fun. And so really, we could do these streams forever. We could do these streams forever. And so yeah, so my kids are gonna come in and show their content. If anyone did follow along this video, either during the stream or after it posts, feel free to post in Discord, share your magic with me, and we'll share them on screen. But now, we're gonna have the kids come over. Hey kids, come on in. The kids are gonna come show their drawings now. All right. Okay. Scoot you over a little bit. Let me move this. Okay, tell them your name and tell them what you drew.
I am Eclair.
Say hi.
Hi. The first thing is... Oops, that's my cat. That's my cat. Oops. This.
All right.
I didn't really know how you did the square.
You did great. All right, let's see your hands.
This is the second one.
That's marvelous.
Third one. And the fourth one.
Very good. Awesome. All right, Captain Woodmore. Want to step up?
Yep.
Okay, tell them what you drew.
These are my shapes.
Love it.
The front hand.
I think that's it.
The hand like this.
Mm-hmm.
And fist.
And your fist. Awesome. It looks just like Hulk's fist. Very good job. All right, nothing from Miss Pie?
She's just coming.
Oh, here we go. Miss Pie.
Okay, so here's the first one.
Awesome.
Second one. I drew the fingers a little far apart. Here's one of the fists, and here's a sketch I did of.
Love it, love it, love it. Very good job. All right. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. We will see you next time. I'm not sure when the next one will be. Pay attention, subscribe, and like, and we will have updates for you coming soon. Everybody have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time. Have fun making art.